All right, let's dive right in. We're going to be tackling a really fascinating puzzle, a real head-scratcher that's been hiding in plain sight inside one of the most famous texts in the world. It's a mystery that all comes down to how the sky itself can, well, speak.
So here's the central question, and it sounds kind of impossible, right? The Apostle Paul makes this huge argument that hinges on every single person on earth having heard a critical message. And his proof? A psalm about the sun, moon, and stars. So how in the world does that work?
And this is the verse that kicks off the whole mystery. In his letter to the Romans, Paul is arguing that people are accountable for hearing the message about the Messiah. For him, this wasn't just some academic debate. No, this was a matter of eternal significance. And to prove his point, he quotes Psalm 19, a poem about the heavens. He's literally saying the voice of the heavens has reached everyone, making them all responsible.
So let's frame this for exactly what it is, a brilliant biblical puzzle. It's time to put on our detective hats, and figure out the logic behind what Paul is actually saying here.
And this is where things get really confusing. On one hand, you've got Paul clearly stating that faith comes from hearing a spoken, verbal message about the Messiah. But then, on the other hand, his big proof that this message went out to the whole world is the silent, non-verbal heavens. It feels like a total contradiction.
Now, the easy answers here, they just don't feel right. Some people say Paul was just exaggerating, using hyperbole, or that it was just a nice poetic touch. Others try to stretch history and claim missionaries had somehow already preached to the entire known world. But these explanations, they kind of fall flat, and they don't do justice to how carefully Paul builds his arguments. There's got to be something deeper going on.
And that deeper answer, well, it starts with our first major clue. We have to wrap our heads around this ancient idea of a communicating cosmos. Yeah, what we could call the speaking sky.
Let's go right back to the source material. Psalm 19, the very text Paul is quoting, isn't just saying, hey, the sky is pretty. No, it claims the heavens declare, that day pours out speech and night reveals knowledge. The psalmist itself gives real active communication to the created world.
And this all points to a really key concept, what we can call the cosmic witness. And this isn't just some poetic idea, it's a whole theological framework. It's the belief that the universe itself, and especially the heavens, functions as a witness. It testifies to God's authority and announces his major moves in history for everybody to see.
So, here's the bottom line. For Paul and his original audience, the sky wasn't just some passive, silent background scenery. No way. It had a job. Think of it like a giant universal billboard, constantly broadcasting the reality of divine rule over the whole world. And when God made a big move, that billboard would be updated. All right, let's grab our second clue and see how this all connects. This whole idea of a speaking sky, it was especially tied to one big thing, the arrival of a king.
I mean, we all know this story, right? The Magi from the Gospel of Matthew? They weren't just dabbling in astrology as we think of it today. They were reading that cosmic billboard we just talked about. They saw a sign up in the heavens and correctly understood it to mean that a divinely appointed king had just been born. The whole story just assumes the heavens can do this.
And this isn't a one-off thing. You see this pattern all over the place in the Bible. I mean, just think of the book of Revelation, with that powerful image of a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, wearing a crown of stars, who gives birth to a ruler. Cosmic signs are the go-to method for announcing a divine ruler and the drama surrounding their arrival.
So when you put it all together, the big takeaway is this. The arrival of the Messiah was never seen as just some small local thing. It was a cosmic event. And if it's a cosmic event, it's going to have cosmic signs. Signs in the heavens that everyone, at least in principle, could see.
Okay, so now we've got our clues. A speaking sky and celestial signs that announce kings. Let's bring it all together for the big reveal. And it all comes down to one crucial difference. The difference between an announcement and an explanation.
And this, right here, is the key to the whole puzzle. Think of it this way. The heavens, they made the giant universal announcement. They shouted the what? Hey everyone, a new divine king is here, he has arrived. This was public, it was for everyone. Then the apostles came along to provide the explanation, the so what. They interpreted that huge cosmic event explaining who the king is, Jesus, and what his arrival means for all of humanity.
So it's really a simple two-step process, right?
Step 1, the cosmos makes this huge global proclamation, a new ruler is in charge. And then step 2, the apostolic preachers, the human messengers, show up to explain the specifics of that proclamation and call people to respond to this new king.
All right, now that we have this framework, let's go all the way back to our original puzzle in Romans 10 and see if we can finally crack this case.
So when Paul says his people can't claim they hadn't heard, he's not talking about geography. He's not trying to argue that some missionary had managed to visit every single person in every remote village. That's not his point at all.
The punchline is this: they couldn't claim they didn't know, because the universe itself had already testified. That public cosmic announcement of the king's arrival had already gone out to the ends of the earth, just like Psalm 19 said it would. There's a quote from the source material that just nails it. The cosmic announcement confronts humanity with the fact of divine rule. The apostolic proclamation confronts humanity with its meaning. And that is the logic behind Paul's whole argument about accountability. See, the entire world was on the hook for that universal announcement, that a new king was on the throne. This completely removed any claim of plausible ignorance, even for people who hadn't yet heard the specific details in a sermon. For Paul, this was absolutely crucial. The heavens had already spoken, and that put the ball in humanity's court.
So we're left with this really fascinating thought to chew on. Paul's ancient argument kind of pushes us to think about a totally different kind of communication. What if the biggest, most world-changing truths aren't first shared in words or written in books, but are just announced to the entire world all at once by the very fabric of the cosmos?